Okay, imagine this. You're at a New Year's party. It's almost midnight. Everyone's laughing, drinking champagne, counting down together. And then your ex-husband shows up with his new girlfriend, and he looks at you and says, "Still alone?" Meanwhile, I'm starting a real family this year. What do you do? If you're Carmen Rodriguez, you smile. You say nothing, because in about 10 seconds, 3 identical children are going to run into that room, calling you mommy. And they're going to have his eyes, his smile, his dimples. The same children he doesn't even know exist. My friend said, I can't hit 1,000 subscribers. Let's prove them wrong. Subscribe to Mr. Sammy Stories for entertaining, story-packed videos. Let me know where you're watching from and what time it is. Subscribe because this story is about to get wild. Carmen's life ran on a schedule. 5 a.m. Wake up to Mason stealing Sophia's blanket. 6:30 a.m. Load 3 squirming children into a 10-year-old Honda. 7 a.m. Drop off at Little Stars Preschool. 7:30 a.m. Unlock room 12 at Lincoln Elementary. 3 p.m. Pick up 3 tired, hungry children. 6 p.m. Dinner. Bath. Stories. Sleep. Repeat. Every single day. And Carmen wouldn't change it for anything. Most mornings, she was exhausted before her alarm even rang. But when Mason grinned up at her with those dimples, Derek's dimples, she pushed the exhaustion down and kept going. When Liam quietly drew pictures of houses with big trees, she saw the home he dreamed of, the one she was working so hard to give him. When Sophia grabbed her blanket back from Mason and refused to back down, Carmen saw herself. A fighter. A survivor. 3 years ago, Derek told her she was broken. He'd stood in their bedroom, packing his suitcase, looking at her like she'd failed him. The doctor said, "You can't give me children," he'd said. "That's all I ever wanted, a family. You can't give me that." Carmen had stood there, frozen. The day before, she'd sat in a doctor's office, staring at an ultrasound screen. 8 weeks pregnant. Triplets. She'd planned to tell him that night. She'd bought his favorite dinner. She'd practiced what she'd say. But then Derek said, "This is your fault. You ruined our marriage. I deserve better." And Carmen made a decision. She closed her mouth. She let him walk away. She let him believe the lie. Because a man who would leave his wife over infertility didn't deserve to know he was going to be a father. So Carmen did alone. She worked 2 jobs in the beginning, teaching during the day, waitressing at night, until her mother moved in to help. She lived off rice, beans, and whatever was on sale. She bought clothes at thrift stores and toys at garage sales. She cried in the shower so the children wouldn't hear. But she never let them see her break. At school, her principal called her an inspiration. Her students loved her. Her colleagues respected her. But at night, when the house was quiet and the children were asleep, Carmen sometimes sat at the kitchen table and wondered if Derek ever thought about her. If he ever regretted walking away. If he ever wondered what his life would have been like if he'd stayed. He had no idea. No idea that the broken woman he left behind had carried 3 babies. No idea that she'd given birth alone, her mother holding her hand in the delivery room. No idea that every time Mason laughed, Liam drew, or Sophia refused to give up, they were being exactly like him. Carmen had built a good life. A small house, a reliable car, a steady job, 3 beautiful, healthy children who knew they were loved. It wasn't the life she'd planned, but it was hers, and she was proud of it. Tonight was New Year's Eve. Her mother was making tamales. Her brother was hanging decorations. Her children were upstairs sleeping, dreaming of cake and midnight celebrations. Carmen stood in front of the bathroom mirror, smoothing down her black dress. She looked tired. She always looked tired. But tonight, she felt something else. Peace. For the first time in 3 years, she felt like she'd finally moved on. Derek was gone. The past was behind her. And the future, her future, was upstairs, sleeping in blue pajamas covered in stars. Then the front door opened, and Carmen heard a voice she hadn't heard in 3 years. Derek's voice, laughing, talking, acting like he belonged here. Carmen's hands froze on the edge of the sink. The peace she felt a moment ago shattered like glass. Because upstairs, 3 children were sleeping. 3 children with his green eyes, his dimples, his face. And Derek had no idea they existed. Not yet. Carmen forced herself to walk into the living room. The party was loud. Music, laughter, conversations overlapping. But the moment she saw Derek, everything else went silent. He stood near the door, shaking hands with her brother Carlos like they were old friends. Like he hadn't abandoned Carlos's sister 3 years ago. Derek looked good. That was the worst part. His hair was styled. His jacket was leather. His smile was confident. Next to him stood a blonde woman in a red dress. She was young, mid-20s, maybe. She laughed at something Derek said and touched his arm. Carmen's mother appeared beside her, gripping her elbow. "I didn't invite him," Maria whispered urgently. "Carlos must have." "It's fine," Carmen said quietly. It wasn't fine, but what else could she say? Derek spotted her across the room. His smile widened. He walked over. Carmen's heart pounded. She wanted to run. She wanted to scream. She wanted to lock the children's bedroom door and never let him near them. Instead, she stood still. "Carmen," Derek said warmly, like they were old acquaintances catching up. "It's been a while." 3 years, Carmen said flatly. "Yeah, wow, 3 years." He glanced around the room. "Nice party. Your family always knew how to throw one." Carmen said nothing. The blonde woman stepped forward, extending her hand. "I'm Jessica, Derek's girlfriend." Carmen shook her hand mechanically. "Carmen." "Oh, I know," Jessica said brightly. "Derek's told me so much about you." "I bet he has," Carmen thought. Derek looked at Carmen with something that might have been pity. "So, how have you been?" he asked. "Still teaching?" "Yes." "That's great. Really great." He nodded like he was proud of her. "You always loved kids, even if—" He trailed off. "Even if you couldn't have them." He didn't say it out loud. He didn't have to. Jessica filled the silence. "Derek's doing amazing. He just got promoted to regional manager. We're looking at houses in Scottsdale." "That's wonderful," Carmen said, her voice like ice. "Yeah, and—" Jessica glanced at Derek, her smile growing. "We're talking about starting a family soon. Aren't we, babe?" Derek grinned. "Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted kids. It's finally the right time." The right time. The right person. Carmen's nails dug into her palms. Derek leaned closer, lowering his voice like he was sharing something private. "I'm glad you moved on, Carmen. I really am. I know things ended badly, but you seem like you're doing okay. Still alone, but okay. Still alone." The words hung in the air. Jessica touched Derek's arm. "Babe, don't." No, it's fine," Derek said, waving her off. He looked at Carmen with mock sincerity. "I just want you to know, there's no hard feelings. What happened between us, it wasn't your fault. You couldn't help it. You couldn't help it. You were broken." Carmen felt her entire body go cold. She wanted to tell him the truth right there. She wanted to scream it in his face. "I wasn't broken. I was pregnant. With your children." But before she could speak, Carlos appeared with drinks. "Hey, it's almost 11:30, Carlos said, oblivious to the tension. "We're doing the countdown at midnight on the back patio. You guys coming?" Derek grinned. "Wouldn't miss it." He put his arm around Jessica and walked away. Carmen stood frozen. Her mother squeezed her hand. "Mija," Maria whispered. "Are you okay?" Carmen didn't answer. She looked toward the stairs. Upstairs, 3 children were sleeping. 3 children Derek didn't know existed. 3 children who would wake up soon, excited for the new year. 3 children who looked exactly like him. Carmen made a decision. Tonight, Derek would learn the truth. Not because she wanted revenge, but because she was done carrying his lies. "I'm fine, Mama," Carmen said quietly. She wasn't fine, but in 10 minutes she would be. At midnight, everything would change. 11:45 p.m. 15 minutes until midnight. Carmen stood on the back patio, watching guests gather for the countdown. Her mother was handing out champagne glasses. Carlos was adjusting the speakers. Children from the neighborhood ran around with glow sticks. Derek and Jessica stood near the fire pit, laughing with a group of Carmen's cousins. He fit right in, like he'd never left, like he hadn't destroyed her 3 years ago. Carmen's phone buzzed. A text from Rosa, the babysitter. Mason's awake. Want to come downstairs. Should I let him? Carmen's thumb hovered over the screen. No, keep them upstairs. That's what she should say. Keep them hidden. Keep them safe. Keep Derek from ever knowing they existed. That had been the plan for 3 years. But then she heard Derek's voice carry across the patio. Yeah, Jess and I are thinking maybe 2 kids. A boy and a girl. The whole package, you know. Jessica laughed. He's already picked out names. Carmen's hand tightened around her phone. He'd already picked out names. For children with another woman. While his real children, 3 of them, slept upstairs. 11:50 p.m. 10 minutes. Carmen remembered the doctor's office 3 years ago. The ultrasound screen glowing in the dark room. Mrs. Walker, congratulations. You're 8 weeks pregnant, and you're carrying triplets. Carmen had stared at the screen, at the 3 tiny shapes, and felt joy explode in her chest. 3 babies. She'd gone home and bought Derek's favorite dinner. Steak, mashed potatoes, the expensive wine he liked. She'd practiced what she'd say. Derek, I know we've been trying. I know it's been hard, but I have news. 11:52 p.m. 8 minutes. The next morning, she'd woken up to find Derek packing. I can't do this anymore, Carmen. What? Derek, wait. The doctor said you can't have kids. That's all I wanted. A family. You can't give me that. She'd open her mouth to tell him. I am pregnant. We're having triplets. You're going to be a father. But then he'd said, you're broken. This is your fault. I deserve better than this. And she'd close her mouth. If he could walk away that easily, he didn't deserve to know. 11:55 p.m. 5 minutes. Derek was holding Jessica's hand now, whispering something in her ear. She giggled. Carmen's mother appeared beside her. Mija, what are you thinking? I don't know, Mama. Are you going to tell him? Tell him. For 3 years, Carmen had protected him. She'd let him believe his lie. She'd carried the weight of the truth alone, through pregnancy, through labor, through sleepless nights, and sick days and birthday parties he'd never see. She'd done it all by herself, so he could stand there and talk about starting a family. If you enjoy dramatic, jaw-dropping stories, subscribe to Mr. Sammy Stories. Let's grow this channel to 1,000 subscribers. 11:57 p.m. 3 minutes. Carmen looked at her phone. Rosa had sent another text. All 3 are awake now. They heard the music. They want to see the fireworks. Carmen's chest tightened. Keep them upstairs. Let them come down. 2 choices. 2 completely different futures. 11:58 p.m. 2 minutes. Someone started counting. All right, everyone. 2 minutes until midnight. Get your glasses ready. The crowd cheered. Derek raised his glass toward Jessica. Carmen's mother squeezed her shoulder. Whatever you decide, Maria whispered. I'm with you. 11:59 p.m. 1 minute. Carmen typed a message to Rosa. Her finger hovered over the send button. Let them come downstairs. She hesitated. Once she pressed send, there was no going back. Derek would see them. He would know. Everything would change. But hadn't it already changed? Hadn't he already made his choice 3 years ago? He walked away. She survived. And now, he needed to know what he'd walked away from. Carmen pressed send. Around her, the crowd began counting. 10. Derek pulled Jessica closer. 9. Carmen's heart pounded. 8. She heard footsteps on the stairs inside. 7. Small voices, excited and sleepy. 6. The back door started to open. 5. Carmen took a breath. 4. This was it. 3. No going back. 2. Derek raised his glass, smiling. 1. The door burst open. Happy New Year! And 3 identical children ran onto the patio, their voices bright and clear. Mommy, Happy New Year! Derek's champagne glass slipped from his hand. It shattered on the concrete. Everything stopped. The champagne glass hit the concrete and exploded. Everyone turned. 3 children stood in the doorway, wearing blue pajamas covered in stars. Mason, Liam, Sophia, their faces glowing with excitement. "Mommy!" They ran across the patio, weaving through the frozen crowd, and jumped into Carmen's arms. She caught them, held them, buried her face in their hair. "Happy New Year, babies," she whispered. The music had stopped. No one spoke. No one moved. Everyone stared. Mason was the first to turn around. He looked at the crowd with his huge green eyes and dimpled smile. Derek's eyes. Derek's smile. Derek's dimples. "Did we miss the fireworks?" Mason asked loudly. Liam turned next, quieter, observing the room the way he always did. Derek's nose. Derek's jaw. Derek's serious expression when he was thinking. Sophia turned last, her arms still wrapped around Carmen's neck. Derek's birthmark on her left temple. The same one Derek had always tried to hide with his hair. Derek stood 10 feet away, staring. His face had gone completely white. Jessica looked at the children, then at Derek, then back at the children. "Derek," she said slowly. "Who are they?" Derek didn't answer. He couldn't. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. Carlos stepped forward, confused. "Derek, do you know?" But he stopped, because even Carlos could see it now. The resemblance was undeniable. Mason had Derek's mischievous grin. Liam had Derek's quiet intensity. Sophia had Derek's stubborn tilt of the chin. They looked like Derek had been copied and pasted 3 times. Jessica's voice cut through the silence, sharp and cold. "Derek, how old are those kids?" Derek finally found his voice. I don't. How old?" Carmen spoke quietly, but everyone heard. "They're 4 years old." Jessica did the math instantly. Her face twisted. "4 years old," she repeated. "We've been together for 2 years. Jessica, wait. You told me she was infertile." Jessica's voice rose. "You said she couldn't have children. That's why you left her." Derek stammered. "I didn't know." "You didn't know?" Jessica laughed, but there was no humor in it. "How could you not know? Look at them." Everyone was looking now. At the children. At Derek. At the undeniable, impossible truth. "They're mine," Derek whispered, more to himself than anyone else. "No," Carmen said firmly. Derek's eyes snapped to hers. "What?" "They're mine," Carmen repeated, her voice steady. "You walked away. You called me broken. You said I ruined your life. I didn't know you were pregnant. I was pregnant. 8 weeks. The day you left." The crowd gasped. Derek's face crumbled. You didn't tell me. You didn't give me the chance." Jessica stared at Derek like she was seeing him for the first time. "You left your pregnant wife," she said slowly. "You abandoned her. You told everyone, you told me, that she was infertile. I didn't know. You didn't ask." Jessica's voice broke. "You just left." She looked at Carmen, at the 3 children clinging to their mother. Then she looked back at Derek. "I can't do this. Jess, please." "No." She stepped back. "I thought you were a good man. I thought you'd been hurt. But you're not a victim, Derek. You're a coward." She turned and walked away. Derek reached for her. "Jessica, wait." But she was gone. The patio was silent. Derek stood alone in the middle of the crowd, his perfect life shattered around him like the champagne glass at his feet. He looked at Carmen, at Mason, Liam, and Sophia. His children. The children he didn't know existed. The children he'd abandoned before they were even born. "Carmen." His voice cracked. "I didn't know. You have to believe me. I didn't know." Carmen looked at him with the same quiet strength that had carried her through 3 years of sleepless nights, hospital visits, birthday parties, and bedtime stories. "I know," she said softly, "and that's exactly why you didn't deserve to." Derek's face broke, but Carmen turned away. She carried her children back inside, away from the stairs, away from the whispers, away from the man who had tried to erase her. Behind her, the party slowly came back to life. But Derek stayed frozen on the patio, alone, exactly the way he'd left her 3 years ago. Carmen carried the children back inside, away from the stares and whispers. Her mother followed, closing the door behind them. The kitchen was warm and quiet, a sanctuary from the chaos outside. "Mommy, why is everyone looking at us?" Sophia asked, still clinging to Carmen's neck. "They're just surprised to see you awake, baby," Carmen said softly. "It's past your bedtime." Mason wiggled out of her arms and looked around. "Is there still cake?" Carmen laughed, a real laugh, light and genuine. "Yes, there's still cake." Maria opened the refrigerator and pulled out a Tres Leches cake covered in whipped cream and strawberries. She cut 3 large slices and placed them on plastic plates with cartoon characters. The children climbed onto chairs at the kitchen table, their eyes wide with delight. "This is the best New Year ever," Mason said, his mouth already full of cake. Liam ate slowly, savoring each bite. Sophia got whipped cream on her nose and laughed. Carmen sat with them, watching. This was her life. This was what mattered. Not Derek's shock. Not Jessica's judgment. Not the whispers outside. Just this. 3 children. 1 kitchen table. Cake at midnight. The back door opened. Carlos stepped inside, his face tight with concern. "Carmen, he's still out there. Do you want me to?" "No," Carmen said quietly. "Let him leave on his own." "Are you sure?" "I'm sure." Carlos hesitated, then nodded. "You're stronger than I ever gave you credit for, Jimena." Carmen smiled. "I had to be." Outside, through the window, Carmen could see Derek. He stood alone on the patio, his hands in his pockets, staring at nothing. Some guests had already left. Others pretended not to notice him. He looked lost. Good, Carmen thought. Now he knows how it feels. But there was no satisfaction in it. No triumph. Just relief. After a few minutes, Derek walked around the side of the house, toward the street. He didn't say goodbye. He didn't apologize. He just left. Again, Carmen watched his shadow disappear. She felt nothing. Not anger. Not sadness. Not even pity. Just peace. "Mommy, can we watch the fireworks?" Mason asked, licking frosting off his fork. Carmen glanced at the clock. 12:15 a.m. "For a few minutes," she said. Then bed. They went to the living room window. Carlos turned off the lights. Outside, fireworks exploded over the city, gold, red, blue, cascading light against the dark sky. The children pressed their faces to the glass, gasping at each burst. "It's so pretty," Sophia whispered. "Like stars falling," Liam added. Mason just laughed, pure and joyful. Carmen stood behind them, her hands on their shoulders. This was her family. This was her life. And Derek could have been part of it. He could have been here, watching fireworks with his children, holding his wife, celebrating the new year together. But he chose to walk away. And Carmen chose to survive without him. "All right, babies," Carmen said softly. "Time for bed." All 3 groaned, but they followed her upstairs without arguing. Carmen tucked them back into their beds, pulling the covers up to their chins. "Did you have a good New Year?" she asked. "The best," Mason said. "I like the cake," Liam said. "I love you, Mommy," Sophia whispered. Carmen kissed each of their foreheads. "I love you too. So much." She turned off the light and stood in the doorway for a moment, watching them settle. 3 years ago, she thought her life was over. Tonight, she realized it had only just begun. Downstairs, Maria was cleaning up. Carlos was taking down decorations. The party was over. Carmen poured herself a glass of water and sat at the kitchen table. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Derek, Carmen, we need to talk. I want to meet them. I want to be part of their lives. Please." Carmen stared at the message. She could respond. She could negotiate. She could open that door. Or she could protect the peace she'd built. Carmen deleted the message. She blocked the number. She set her phone down. "Are you okay, Mija?" Maria asked, sitting beside her. "Yes," Carmen said. And for the first time in 3 years, she meant it. Outside, the last firework exploded. The sky went dark. The new year had begun. And Carmen Rodriguez was finally free. Don't just watch, subscribe. Help Mr. Sammy Stories hit 1,000 subscribers.